We all know what it's like to get recommendations in your YouTube feed, I suppose. Videos that you didn't necessarily request or even expect. And this is based on one that I got just yesterday. And the title of this thing, and I'll put a link to it in the comment section and pin it to the top. Title of this one is When X Factor Judges Get Angry. And this has over 22 million views, so it's a big thing. And so I thought, okay, I'll look at it, and it struck me about, I don't know, about halfway through, that Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy Osbourne's wife, that's what she's primarily famous for, as far as I'm concerned. She became upset with two of the other judges, Simon Cowell. And I believe the name of the other guy is Louis Walsh, something like that. I don't follow the program. I don't have a TV anyway. But apparently they'd rejected a young lady on the grounds that his singing wasn't good enough. And believe me, there is a real point to this. And the girl burst into tears, and Sharon Osbourne then played the good mama. She was comforting the girl. She then made out she was, well, let's assume she was genuine about it. She was upset with the guys, Simon and Louis, and she started lecturing them. She was shouting at them, I believe, and she picked up a glass of, I don't know what, and flung it all over Louis Walsh. Now, if she'd have done that to me, I would have smacked her out. I don't know what Ozzy would have done, but he did nothing. And the reason I'm mentioning this incident is because I'm going to leave another link in the comment section and pin it to the top. It reminded me of what a stinking hypocrite Sharon Osbourne is. She used to host, I think, a program called The Talk, and I'll leave a link to what I'm about to mention in the comment section as well. That will be pinned to the top so you can have a look, because it reminded me of an incident that happened some years ago, which some of you will be well aware of, some of you not. And this is when it was one of those all-women talk shows where all of the panelists, these gossiping women, no men are allowed. They're allowed as guests, but very rarely as actually being able to commentate, because obviously men are not quite that important. And they're here in Britain, they're in the United, they're all over the bloody world, believe me. And so she was hosting The Talk, and they got around to a topic of a woman who severed her husband's penis. I think it might have been because he was going to divorce her, whatever. But she did that, she committed that barbaric act, and she put it into a blender so that he could never have a penis again or a sex life. And the women found it hilarious, apart from one who did try and say, you know, it was a little bit not quite right. But Sharon Osbourne thought it was so funny, and she said that she wouldn't have put it into the blender, she would have put it into the dog's bowl and fed the dog the man's severed penis. Absolutely sick. The only you can't use animal words for that kind of thought and behaviour. And most of the women, it sounded like, in the studio were also gleefully howling with laughter. And you can imagine, I would imagine that would have reflected the audience at home of millions of women who were just laughing at such an act of absolute sexual savagery. And women find this amusing. Quite clearly, it is the overwhelming majority of women. And you can argue all you like that women have been taught to be these bestial pigs through this kind of programming, or you could argue that it's natural to them. I don't know, mate. You know, leave your comments in the comment section. But the point is, the most important point is, if people want to behave like vicious savages like this, well then I can't stop them. But if you stud this on its head, first of all, you could never have programs, any kind of program, where it was just an all-male discussion panel with the occasional female guest, where they pretended that they were intellectual or clever in some way. But you just imagine it the other way round. And Osborne she was forced to make an apology, but imagine it the other way round. And, excuse me a moment, you had a group of men sitting around, lounging around during the daytime, whilst their wives were hard at work. They had an audience of mostly males and an audience at home of mostly males, and they were joking about a woman having her husband got angry with her, so he emasculated her. He severed her clitoris, her labia, he circumcised her and threw her bits into a blender. And you imagine these guys laughing their heads off at this sickness and talking about throwing her bits into a dog bowl, and the men in the audience roaring with laughter. And you imagine now, not a male audience at home, but a female audience at home, thinking, what the fucking hell is wrong with men? They are just fucking subhuman beasts. And yet women pretend all the time that that's exactly what they're suffering from. Really? Give me a fucking equivalent. So I'd say to any man out there thinking of getting it on with a woman, you don't want to go MGTOW, you think that we're, because I've had quite a lot of comments recently saying, you know, MGTOW's full of shit, and they've been got at by other commentators. I'd say this: you want to think very carefully about the modern woman in the Western world. In other countries, many other countries, there are perfectly decent women. The women as a whole are perfectly decent. They haven't been contaminated by this disgusting virus called feminism. They haven't been taught, indoctrinated, brainwashed, take whatever word you wish, into just being just savages. This is utterly subhuman behaviour. This is not, I would assume, normal human behaviour. It must be taught. And I think the question is, can modern Western women be saved from their savagery and their subhumanity? Because if that had been a man making a comment like that on a man-only show, that would be the end of that person's career. And I can remember a number of years back when this first came out, and I saw one of the videos about it. In part of the top comment section, there was a comment from a guy saying, "I hope she ends up getting her tits cut off." Now, I disagreed with that, because you're lowering yourself to their level. And the irony of this is that Sharon Osbourne, unless I'm much mistaken, ended up having to have a double mastectomy, have both of her breasts cut off to save her from dying from cancer. That's nowhere near as bad as having your clitoris and labia cut off, or your penis cut off if you're a man. But nevertheless, I mean, what hope do we have left? When she made the apology, which she was forced to, she didn't give me the impression that she was even sincere.